Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now Olight have just released their Seeker 4 Pro. I also have the Seeker 3 Pro. So I thought it'd be useful if we looked at the differences and then also looked at this in the dark. Now I thought it might be might be useful at this point just to make sure that I'm clear. The version that we have here in black, this is the Seeker 4 Pro. The version that we'll have a look here that is green, this is the Seeker 3 Pro. Now I'm just going to put them to one side, mainly because just for quickness, we'll just go through what you get inside the box. Now the unboxing process for Olight is the same as a lot of others. It has that really nice, slick iPhone-esque unboxing. Now what I'll do is I'll bring this up here so that you can have a look at some of these. I'll touch on the different lumen levels and that sort of stuff when we have a look at it in the dark later, because you know it's very similar to previous models, but I just wanted to show you that. Now when you open it, you get the usual kind of thing on the inside, but you also have this little bit here. So usually you would get one of their proprietary chargers, and instead you don't get a proprietary charger with this. Sorry, just want to focus there for a second. But you do get one of these little mounts with some 3M backing on it. So if you wanted to attach this to a wall, maybe if you wanted this in your truck, whatever it is that you're going to do with this light, it has one of these plastic molded sheaths on it, and this fits in there perfectly, so you can put it where it needs to be. It won't come out. What you have to do is just push this forward. So now let's pretend this is affixed to the wall. You push that forward, lift it up, and it will come out. So you do get one of these now. Before, they used to give you one of those metal L brackets so that you could kind of attach that to something. Now if you already have one of those, it will still work because it does have a magnetic bottom. But yeah, so that's what you get in here with this. Now I will explain in a second about how the charging works with this, but let's get on to some of the subtle differences. So the first one, so this is the Seeker 3 Pro. Now when you get the Seeker 3 Pro, you get one of these. Let's zoom out for a second. Let's call this a traditional sheath. It's made from a nice nylon. On the inside it has some kind of soft felty material, and then there's a clip on the front. You can attach this to a belt, or if you need to pass this through some Pals webbing, you can do. So that's what you get, or that's what you got with the Seeker 3. Now with the Seeker 4 instead, you have one of these plastic molded sheaths. I actually quite like these. I think they're really good. Whether or not you prefer this one or that, I mean, that's kind of down to your own personal taste, but I still think these do an exceptionally good job. Very good at slipping them in, very good out, pinch my hand there, slipping them out. They don't fall out. Now the first time I came across this was with the Javelot Mini, so this does exactly the same. I think that this version or this iteration is actually better than the Javelot Minis, mainly because the Javelot Mini just had a small connection point at the bottom where it kind of got in. You could shake it, and you could shake it out, but you have to really shake it very hard. Whereas this one on the Seeker 4 Pro, when it's in there, it's seated in there exceptionally well. Now, actually, let's put that to one side because we will come back to that in a second. Now, putting them side to side, as I say, so this is the Seeker 3 and this is the Seeker 3 Pro and the Seeker 4. Now, measurements-wise, sorry, there's lots of flies around, buzzing around my face. So measurements-wise, they are pretty much like for like. The Seeker 3 is 132mm by 35mm, and that's the widest point here. The head unit on this is 35mm. I think it comes down to about roughly 27mm as it tapers down into the body here. So that was, what was it? So it was 132mm long by 35mm wide at its widest point. This one comes in at 133mm, so instead of 132, it's 133. It's ever so slightly longer, which when I put them like that, there really is nothing in it whatsoever. The Seeker 3 Pro is 200 grams. The Seeker 4 Pro is 205 grams. Again, the difference between them is nominal. You're really not going to notice the difference between 5 grams. And if you do, then, well, good on you. As far as the throw on these, well, actually, so let's talk about the lumens. So the Seeker 3 Pro, I'm just going to call them the Seeker 3 and the Seeker 4 from now on, because I keep forgetting to add the Pro on the end. But the Seeker 3, this was 4,200 lumens, whereas the Seeker 4, this is now 4,600 lumens. So you're getting a bit of a bump up. It's going up an extra 400 lumens, which is great. You can just notice the difference between the two. When you have them side by side. I think if you had this one and then you had this one afterwards and you hadn't got them side by side, you probably wouldn't notice the difference between 400 lumens, as I say, 4,200, 4,600. The throw on these, because you're getting an extra little amount from the Seeker 4, the throw on the Seeker 3 was 250 meters. The throw on the Seeker 4, did I say that right? Seeker 3 is 250 meters. Seeker 4 is 260 meters. Again, not a massive amount. If you weren't putting these next to each other, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. When they're next to each other, you just ever so slightly notice the difference. One of the other things, so in here, Olight have, if I can bring this close in here, where you can see you have your 4 LED units in there, and then you have a small sensor on there. That sensor was 4, so if I put this so that it's on turbo now, you'll notice as it gets closer to my hand, it then kicks down. That was that sensor that's on there. If it is that you're using this for certain things, maybe you're using this for security, you come up to a window or something like that, and you need to see through that window, as it comes through, that it always just kicked it down, and it just meant that you weren't being able to use the full amount of lumens that you can get from it. Especially, again, as I say, you may be using this for security and you want to look through something. With this one, with the Seeker 4, so if I put this onto turbo and bring it closer to my hand, you'll notice that there's no kick down in here whatsoever. So now being able to use this to look through windows, or even if you go into a room that has a lot of white paint on the walls, that was sufficient enough to fool this, and it would think that because there's a lot of light reflecting back into the sensor that's on there, it would then drop down the lumens. Whereas with this one, if you go into, at least with the Seeker 4, if you go into a room that has quite bright paint on the walls, or there's a lot of reflective things in there, it won't dip down. Now at this point you might be thinking, well, what about security, or not security, or at least security in the sense that, well, if this goes off in my pocket, then I don't want this to set fire in my pocket. The way that they've done that is with this new, I'm not gonna call this a sheath from now on, really. I suppose that this should be called a docking sheath. So if I put this onto turbo, because it locks out, put it onto turbo again, you'll notice that it doesn't have that kick down. Now, if I put this back into its newly named Moorlander docking sheath, and I tried to put this up, and let's turn it back on again, try to put this up onto turbo, it won't go up to turbo. There's no way of getting this up to turbo because it knows that it's docked within this sheath, and that if it's turned on, I'm guessing the only reason that you would turn it on within its sheath is by accident. So it just won't turn on to full turbo. To get it onto full turbo, I can turn it on, I can double click it, it just won't get there. Now when it's out of my hand, double click it, you'll see that it will go up to full turbo. So I think that's the way in which they've been able to change, rather than having a sensor on the front that reacts to the light that's being bounced back into it, it now reacts to its environment, or more specifically, it reacts to whether it is in the docking sheath or not. One of the other additions, I did say I was going to come back to this, as you may have noticed as I've been holding this, if I turn this round here, at the bottom we now have a USB Type-C charging port on here. If you have one of the old school Olight chargers, you can charge this with one of the old school style proprietary chargers. You don't get that with this. The only way to be able to charge this is to have it in the sheath and then have this connected by USB Type-C. Again, I've not asked Olight about this. However, in recent months, so actually it's been set in motion maybe 2-3 years now, but European Commission said that everybody has to use USB Type-C. You'll have noticed that the iPhone 15 coming out soon won't have Apple's proprietary charger on there. They have to use USB Type-C. Olight have always had a proprietary charger, so I think this is Olight's way of getting around this. I'm going to bring back in the Javelot Pro. So on the bottom of the Javelot Pro, there was an opening on here so that you could attach the proprietary charger to the bottom here, and it would charge. With this one, you can't attach it to the bottom. It won't attach to this. I guess you could probably lift this up, slide it in there, but what you will see, hopefully, is, I'll put that down there. Oh, no, there is the charger in the bottom. So USB-C into this, connect that back up, and then it will charge. Just a different way of doing it, but I think this is the start of an evolution that we will probably see from Olight. And again, I haven't asked them this, but this is purely a guess. For some of those other ones that had that little disc that would attach to the bottom here, I'm guessing they might be able to skirt around these new European laws by having, let's say imagine you cut this off here. What you'll have is a separate puck, or whatever they call it, that attaches to the bottom here. Let's say it just goes on like that, magnetizes on, and then they'll have a USB Type-C bit on there. Or they may just go straight in and remove the charging from the bottom, and they'll have what I call a traditional style under a plug, and it'll be in there. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't really know. I don't mind this, how it's set up now. But I do know that there was a lot of you out there that actually prefer the proprietary charger because you can just click it on there and then you're off and you're gone. Some of other really subtle changes, so that the jog dial on this, once it's not been used for however long, you just can't turn it on. It's part of the security feature on here. What you have to do is you have to do a bit of a turn, and then you can turn it on. I don't know why I double clicked. Then you can just long press it, or whatever it is that you need to do. On here, so on the Seeker Pro, if I just turn that back on again, you can see you've got 100%, 75, 50 and 25% battery, and it does exactly the same on this one, but instead it's just underneath there. Let's see if I can get this to show a little bit better. It might be difficult to see, but it's just underneath there. So rather than having those little LEDs that you have on this, you have these kind of wider ones. When it's on, probably shouldn't put a hand there, but when it's on at the moment, I know that it's on full, and then you can use your jog dial to turn that down, and as you turn this down, then rather than having steps like you have with other flashlights, then you can just manually up and down, so you can go from its lowest all the way up to its highest, and then if you want to, you can double press and then it will take it up to turbo as well. Another, again, tiny subtle difference between the two. So both of these have this rubberized grip that's on here. With the Seeker 3, the rubberized grip was just on the sides. When it comes round to the back, that rubberized grip disappeared. Whereas with the Seeker 4, this rubberized grip goes all the way round, apart from this small section here where it says Olight on there. Again, another tiny little difference. On the inside, it still uses one of Olight's proprietary 21700 500 milliamp hour batteries to make sure that when you need those 2700, that's the battery inside, you idiot, sorry. When you need those 6400 lumens that you can get from the Seeker 4 Pro, then that battery is the beefy battery that you want to be able to get that kind of power. Now, as far as differences, really they are the main differences. So I'll tell you what, let's have a look at how this works in the dark, and then we'll go through some of the light levels, lumen levels, and what you can expect from each of those now. Okay, I thought what I'd do is just to give you an idea of both of them against each other. So the one on the right here, this is the Seeker 4, the one on the left here, this is the Seeker 3. So I'm going to put them both onto their turbo mode, although I've just lost a button. So they're both on the turbo. We've got 4,200 lumens, 4,600 lumens. Just on the grass here, okay, so here is your 4,600, here is your 4,200. The difference between the two is really quite minimal. It's only a 400 lumen difference. Here we have actually you can see it a little bit better this way. Are we on turbo? Yeah, we're definitely on turbo. Do you know what? Yeah, when you see it like this, you can see off into the distance, but when you see it like this, you can definitely see that you can see off into the distance just that extra little bit more with those extra 400 lumens. So going through the normal modes on the Seeker 4, you can do a long press. This will give you your moonlight mode. Moonlight mode on here is 5 lumens. Great for being able to walk through the trees like this. You can see, say, maybe 4-5 meters in front of you. Good for walking the dog. Also, on those occasions where you're trying to find your keys in the bedroom and you don't want to wake Mrs. Morlander up. Obviously, Mrs. whoever your Morlander is, not my Morlander. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, really good for that. I do find, I know I say this a lot, but it's these lower moonlight or low modes that I tend to use the most. Now you can do a long press. Now, so I mentioned, so this does have the jog dial on this. You can move the dial round, and this isn't in its step mode. So all of these different luminosities go up in smaller increments. So you can really dial it into wherever you want it to be. Or you can do a long press, and this will take you through those different increments. So right now we've gone back slightly out of focus. Let's go back into focus. So now we're on the low mode, which is 50 lumens. Again, 50 lumens is great. I can easily see 10 meters ahead of me. It's difficult with the camera like this. Very good for walking the dogs, being able to see what's around me, and also not really affect too much of the wildlife, although they can hear me and the dogs hooning around the woods at night. But that is that's your 50 lumens. You can then do another long press. Now with this, I can start to see, let me just make sure I get out of this puddle. But I can start to see further into the trees. This tree just about here is probably about 15-20 meters away, but I can also see further on into the distance, and I can see more of the trees there. Now the mid mode on this is 300 lumens, and again does a very good job of just being able to brighten up exactly what you need to see in front of you. Then with another long press, this is where we then get up onto the high mode. High is 1200 lumens. Now you can see this tree here right in front of me, very easy to see now. You can even see little bugs flying around, and now you can see the trees here in the distance are a whole lot easier to see. I will say for a light like this, especially you find a lot of lights, turbo, yeah, it's great, but really your turbo is a peeing up a wall competition. It's, you know, we can do 4,600 lumens. You tend to find your mids and your high are actual better representations of what the light can do. And it does a very good job. Now as far as a warm spot, there is a slightly warm spot, but with 4 LEDs on the front, the array that it has set up on this, it's not really designed to be like that. Do this, so what I'll do is 45 degrees to the left, back to front, 45 degrees to the right, back to front. So you can see the warm spot moving there, but as far as a defined skirt that goes around the light, it really isn't one of those style lights. It's just a good floodlight. Then at any point you can do a double press, and that will take you up to your 4,600 lumens. So being able to look into the trees there, there's a lot more detail on the trees at the back, which is great to see. It's a lot easier to see here. Just moving around here again. Again, you know, it's just a very good light. Looking up into the canopy here, it's quite good detail on here. I think the LED choice or the LED module choice on this is definitely good. You can also do, where are we? 1, 2, 3, a triple press, which will then take you onto the strobe mode. Is there a beacon? No, I think it is just strobe mode with this. But yeah, really nice light. Oh, let's get back onto. And then, so as I mentioned, so you've got that jog dial. So if I put this down onto its lowest, this is the lowest, which is your 5 lumens, and then you can just gradually. So all I'm doing is turning my thumb on the dial here, but hopefully as well actually. So now you can see it's on its lowest. There, it's kind of roughly halfway. There we're about 2/3 the way, and then you can push it all the way around, which will take it all the way up. You can also see on here as well that I'm pretty much full of batteries. So if I move this back around again, because what it'll do is to help to conserve some of the batteries, these lights will turn off after a while. The Seeker 4 Pro is a combination of Olight making some very good decisions over the last few years. It's definitely the better light of the two, and I think certainly if you don't have the Seeker 3, then you should definitely pick up a Seeker 4 Pro. Some of the upgrades, I will say, seem just like more iterative upgrades, and that's generally because I think the Seeker 3 Pro was already a very good light. Now, taking a step back, if we went back, say, maybe 4 or 5 years, Olight made a few decisions which I think didn't work out in their favour. I don't think they were necessarily bad decisions. I think they were just trying out some new technologies. They were trying out some new things for their flashlights that didn't necessarily work. But I think for Olight, what it did do is Olight then learned from that, and that's the key point. We don't learn from our successes, we learn from our failures. And I think Olight took a lot of that information, and then the Seeker 3 Pro was kind of the start of that, where they kind of found their groove. I think if you already have one of these, then to upgrade to this, you might not notice as much of a jump. Whereas if you don't have one of these already, I think these are very good lights. In fact, I might even go as far as to say I don't really have a truck light category. You can carry this for EDC if you keep it on your belt. But for me, this is more of a truck light, a bag light kind of thing. That's just something that you have there when you need it, for when you go out to walk the dogs. It'll be on the kitchen side that you'll grab your other things whilst you're dog walking, that sort of stuff. But it's a very good light, and yeah, I'm glad that Olight have found the track. They've found their groove, and they are continuing to make very good lights. Now, thank you for Olight for sending this to me. Of course, with Olight, whenever something new comes out, there is a new sale on, so have a look in the link below for some exclusive links that will be able to get you some discounts off these. If you choose to use those links, it just gives me a small kickback towards my channel, so I can continue to make content like this. But yes, so check the links below. I think they've also got they've got like those kind of combination sales as well, where if you get one of these, you get an extra something, or you know, have a look in the links below and you'll see more. But including in those links below, I'll also leave some of their social media links. I'll leave some of my social media links here on Moorlander EDC and my other channel, Moorlander Tactical. But for now, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Or we'll go home, we'll have some tea, maybe have a beer, so that we can come out later and do some filming. How about that? Did I just do that at the end? I think I did. I do that a lot. I point with this finger while I'm talking about stuff. So we're like, look at this, look at this. It's not because I'm doing that. It's just because my brain's broken. Simple enough. I think the Seeker 4 Pro is Olight's. The Seeker 4 Pro is The Seeker 4 Pro is a culmination of Olight making some very good decisions over the last few years. If you already have, no, it's just a good light, it really is. Olight are doing some good stuff at this moment in time, I hope they stay on track as well. I didn't want to add it in that bit, but I do hope they stay on track, because it's very easy for a company to lose where they're heading. And I think some of those, you know, I won't necessarily say gambles in the past that they took, but some of them didn't necessarily pay off. But I'm glad that they did listen to, you know, what was happening, and listen to, end users. So yeah, I hope you're all having a good Sunday. Signing off. I don't know why I saluted then. I wasn't in the armed forces, but I was in the Cubs, so I can do it's a 3-finger salute in the Cubs, wasn't it? I can't remember if it was like that or like that. I think it was like that, but so I get to salute, dib dib dob dob, and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, where was I? Have a good Sunday. All right, bye.